Yes, they fought savagely, for they were a primitive people, and self-preservation is a primitive instinct.
They say history is written by the winners, and that's surely the case when it comes to the way Native Americans have been portrayed in the movies.
More often than not, First Nations characters in television shows and films are portrayed as either passive, primitive, violent, or deceptive. These portrayals, however inaccurate, are so familiar that they have been etched into the Canadian psyche, and consequently have greatly impacted the way Canadians understand and acknowledge First Nations culture, history, and people.
In the Canadian media, do you think that First Nations people are portrayed?
They just aren't. They're just left out.
Or they're alcoholics, or they run casinos.
Or their protests are out of control and about causes that aren't worthy.
Or they're uneducated and poor and lazy.
How do you think First Nations are portrayed in the media?
Like negatively, as like drunks and drug addicts, and
they are used like scapegoats. A lot of people think that they don't work and they don't have to pay taxes and everything else.
The white men of the West cannot and will not recognize the testimony of those Indians who slaughtered, massacred, and ambushed our parents.
The tribes of the North meet at River Rock to once and forever wipe out all white.
Newspapers and also television have stories that focus on the negative sides, on alcoholism, on suicides, and so on.
Why do you think that there is this misrepresentation, especially in films and television?
I think two reasons. One is that it sells. Good stories don't sell. People want to see the bad stuff. They want to feel superior, and and a lot of people have misconceptions about First Nations. Oh, they're all drunk, or this or that, and this kind of feeds into to that. The other reason is that I would think a lot of journalists who write these stories or make the films don't have a solid background concerning First Nations, and so they also buy into these myths about it. Oh, it's all alcoholism and this, which of course is not the truth.
Newspapers, more populist like Journal de Montréal or so on, they're much more inclined to talk about problems with Native peoples.
The fact is, many Canadians are uninformed about First Nations culture and history, especially the steps taken by the Canadian government to suppress First Nations people.
Do you know what the Indian Act is?
no, I don't know.
Do you know what a residential school is?
Yeah, they were in the, I don't remember.
Do you know what a residential school is?
No.
Do you know what the Indian Act is?
No.
Maybe in secondary education there's more stuff about like the history, but I think that in elementary school and in high school, a lot of Native history isn't really talked about.
Yes, mainstream media could do a better job of it. They could try to highlight some of the positive changes that have gone on. But it's probably also the education in general, schooling and so on. I know in my own class, almost no students had heard about the residential schools. It was only students from Ontario. For some reason it's in the curriculum there. It's not apparently anywhere else. Teachers will make, especially elementary school students, draw little igloos or teepees or things like that. So there are stereotypes that get implanted in children's brains, and it kind of stays there. So the schooling system, the education system, yes, media also, and of course you could say that First Nations themselves ought to make strides to inform people better.
By ignoring the Indian and what we have to say, you are dooming your own country. Because there is a saying, a nation that does not know its history has no future.